Hi, everybody. Welcome to our program. This is English Digest, and I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
And today we're talking about psychology, what goes on in our minds. And we're talking specifically about something called the Proust phenomenon. Now, I've heard of Proust, Marcel Proust, the French writer who wrote, À la recherche du temps perdu, which is...
In Search of Lost Times.
Yes, that's a direct translation, although many other translations say it's entitled Remembrance of Things Past.
And they had to divide the books up. That it's so long. It's the longest book I think we have. Twice as long as War and Peace.
Yeah, I tried to start at Swan's Way as the first book. I think I got 100 pages into it.
Good for you.
And it's actually good reading. I actually was enjoying reading it. But, you know, life, you're busy and stuff. You got to work. You got to take care of wife and kids. And I put it down at one point and just didn't get back to it. So maybe in my retirement, I'll try it again.
Yeah.
In my retirement, I also want to listen to The Ring Cycle from beginning to end by Wagner, you know. But again, that's something for retirement when I have time.
Lots of time.
But the Proust phenomenon has to do with smell, right?
Yeah. Sometimes if you get a smell coming your way, it reminds you of something. Typically, when I smell something, it reminds me either of my childhood or if I'm in Taiwan, it will remind me when I was here the first time, which was a long time ago. What about you?
Absolutely. I believe in this as well.
Yeah?
For me, there's something about the smell of freshly laid tar. You know, when they're paving the road and that smell comes up, that reminds me of something from childhood. Maybe when I was a kid playing outside, they were paving the road or something like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, whenever I smell that, it takes me back to my childhood. So, indeed, aromas, scents, smells, all those things can take you back in time. Sometimes they're pleasant memories, and maybe sometimes they might be bad memories.
True.
But we'll try to deal with that as our lesson continues. So let's get to it. A scent that takes you back, the Proust phenomenon. Let's read today's lesson now one time.
Sometimes you get a whiff of something familiar, and memories of the past come flooding back. The aroma of brown sugar might remind you of the times you followed your grandmother to the market, and she'd buy you a piece of brown sugar bread to nibble on. The smell of erasers or crayons might transport you back to your days in elementary school. Smells have a way of triggering past memories, and this is known as the Proust phenomenon. The theory behind the idea proposes that odors can suddenly make us recall vivid memories from the past. It's named after the French writer Marcel Proust. He wrote about how the smell of a madeleine dipped in tea called up a detailed memory of his aunt's house. Experts believe that the role of smell in eliciting long-forgotten memories is related to how close the part of the brain where odors are processed is to the regions controlling emotion and memory. This could explain why our sense of smell is often more successful than other sensory systems at bringing back memories. Researchers are still looking at the relationship between smell and memory, but initial findings suggest that smells can evoke extremely vivid memories. This means that you might be able to use odors as a learning aid. The next time you study for an exam, try dabbing your wrist with a scent. Smelling the same scent on the day of your exam may bring you back to the time you were learning the information.
All right, everybody, we're going to talk about aromas, smells, or scents here. A scent that takes you back, the Proust phenomenon. Okay, so we did already explain who Marcel Proust is, but we'll mention it later as we continue here, specifically why it's called the Proust phenomenon. So here in the first paragraph it says, sometimes you get a whiff of something familiar and memories of the past come flooding back. Here, whiff just means a smell of something. It kind of describes the sound your nose makes when you sniff something. So if you get a whiff of something, that just means you smell something. So sometimes you smell something familiar, and then memories of the past come flooding back. You might smell something and go, oh, this reminds me of my first week of college when I met my roommate, and he spilled sesame seeds all over the floor, and the room smelled like sesame for a week. Indeed, every time I smell sesame, that reminds me of that first day meeting my roommate in college.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, when I smell sesame, it takes me back to when I first moved back here 15 years ago, and I broke a bottle of sesame oil in my apartment. It was a mess.
That sounds like a familiar story there, or a similar story.
That's a bad memory, though. So, yeah. A whiff is just that quick sniff or smell of something. Here, they say that the memories can actually come flooding back. They do. They return very quickly, and sometimes there are a lot of them. Here's one that our writer wrote about. The aroma of brown sugar might remind you of the times you followed your grandmother to the market, and she'd buy you a piece of brown sugar bread to nibble on. This sounds like a memory from someone who grew up in Taiwan and not someone who grew up in America. I don't really know what brown sugar bread is. Maybe you do, Tom, but let me look at this verb phrase here first. If something reminds someone of something, it just means there's something about that thing that triggers or starts a memory of something else. So they're kind of connected in your mind. And this one is that scent or aroma of brown sugar is connected to when someone was a little girl following their grandma to the market and she'd buy them a special treat.
Yeah, maybe you might hear a song on the radio and you'll go, wow, that song reminds me of a song I liked many years ago. They're quite similar.
Yeah.
Or someone might look at you and say, gee, you look familiar. You remind me of my nephew. You look just like him, even though I know you're not him, but you remind me of him. You make me think of my nephew. But indeed, brown sugar might be heitang here in Chinese. Maybe there's some kind of brown sugar bread that's a popular snack here in Taiwan. But indeed, perhaps you followed your grandmother to the market when she was babysitting you while your parents were off working, and she bought you a piece of brown sugar bread, and you nibbled on that thing. Here, the word nibble just kind of means you chew on something, you take a small bite out of it. You're not really eating it pretty fast, you're just enjoying it piece by piece.
Here's another memory. Here you've got the smell of erasers or crayons, and when you get that whiff, that might transport you back to your days when you were in elementary school or primary school, as some people say. I tend to say elementary school myself. When I smell that crayon smell, it does take me back to the days of my childhood. Not just school, but also being at home and coloring with my brother. We were similar in age. So, yeah, that's kind of a fun memory, too.
Indeed. So some of these smells are common in classrooms. Erasers, crayons, maybe whiteboard markers might do the trick as well. And of course, they trigger those past memories. Here, the word trigger just means it starts something, it makes it happen. So it might release those past memories, and then you can go, wow, that reminds me of my childhood. But as I said earlier, it might remind you of bad memories, and you might have a bad reaction to it. So that's natural, of course, when that happens.
We also use trigger as a verb and a noun. Here, of course, it's actually being used as a verb. Way of triggering, it's a gerund because it has an ing on it. But yeah, it can trigger or start a reaction, as Tom said. Or it might actually be a small device on something that if you push it or pull it, it starts some sort of separate action. For example, on a gun, if you pull the trigger, you're going to shoot someone if you push it. So you got to be careful with that. Here, of course, it just starts or causes some sort of event or situation to happen. Yeah, it triggers past memories. A lot of things can do that. But smells, we're going to find out, are super important, super strong. And that's why we actually have this phenomenon called the Proust phenomenon after that famous writer.
Okay, well, let's talk about that right now. The theory behind the idea proposes that odors can suddenly make us recall vivid memories from the past. So that's what the theory is all about. The theory behind this, the theory or the thinking behind it, the concept. A theory, of course, is when you come up with some ideas to explain something, like the theory of relativity, for example, or the theory of the Big Bang. Lots of scientists think that the universe began with a single event that happened, 13.8 billion years ago. That's a theory here, the theory of the Big Bang. But here we've got the theory of, I guess, the Proust phenomenon. And the thinking behind this is that odors can make us recall or make us remember vivid memories from the past. So if you're talking about something that we can smell with our noses, we've got all sorts of nouns for that. An odor, an aroma, a smell, and maybe even a stench if it's something really bad.
Yeah, a scent was something we have in our title here. Some of these are very positive. A scent is usually neutral, but I would say I use it more for positive things. This word here, odor, though, is typically used for bad or unpleasant smells, so be careful with that. I hate the odor of old cigarette smoke. If someone smokes a lot, it might be that smell that's on their clothes or in their cabs or their cars. That's a bad smell. The other day, I smelled someone changing a diaper. A mom was changing a diaper, and that triggered memories to when I would help my mom change my little sister's diapers and brother's diapers when they were growing up and I was old enough to help. So, yeah, odors are usually bad, so be careful with that word. If you have a nice perfume, ladies, or a cologne, men, that's usually referred to as a fragrance. You know, oh, such a nice fragrance. Can also mean perfume or cologne, but it can mean the scent that people smell. Yeah, so here we're talking about these different odors, smells that can bring back or make us recall, that's what recall is, vivid, very clear memories from the past.
And as it says here, it's named after the French writer Marcel Proust, hence the Proust phenomenon. And we'll get to the details about that in just a second, but right now we're going to listen to our Chinese teacher.
大家好，欢迎收听 English Digest， 我是哈利。今天我们要阅读的课程是 Unit4, A Scent That Takes You Back, The Proust Phenomenon. 我们先看到标题里有一个名词 scent。scent 有气味的意思，尤其是指香味。例如 The sweet scent of freshly baked cake drifted into the living room. 刚烤好的蛋糕香味飘进客厅。其他表示气味的用字还有 aroma, A-R-O-M-A, 常指食物的强烈香气。例如 Waking up to the aroma of freshly brewed coffee is very pleasant. 醒来闻到现煮咖啡香是很愉快的一件事。Fragrance, F-R-A-G-R-A-N-C-E, 泛指任何香气或芬芳。例如The fragrance from the garden flowers drifted down the country lane. 花园里的花香味飘到乡间小径上。Odor, O-D-O-R, 可以指气味或是难闻的气味。例如 The odor coming from my old sneakers was so bad that my mom threw them out. 我那双旧运动鞋味道很臭，所以我妈把鞋丢了。其他用来指不好气味的还有 stink.S-T-I-N-K, 意思是恶臭、臭气。例如 We finally found out that the awful stink came from the children's dirty socks. 我们终于发现那可怕的臭味是来自小孩的脏袜子。Stench, S-T-E-N-C-H, 也是恶臭的意思。例如 Ben's wife refused to visit the natural hot springs with him.Because she hates the stench of sulfur in the water. 班的老婆拒绝和他去泡温泉，因为他讨厌温泉里的硫磺臭味。我们看到第一段的第二句 The aroma of brown sugar might remind you of the times 这一句。助动词 can, could, may, might 后面接原形动词的话，可以用来表示对现在事实的推测，有可能怎么样的意思。例如 Jessica doesn't want to talk to you. She may still be angry with you. 杰西卡不想跟你说话，她可能还在生你的气。助动词 could、may、might， 如果接 have 再接 VPP 的话，则表示对过去事实的推测。例如 I can't find my wallet. I might have left it at the restaurant. 我找不到我的皮夹，我可能把它留在餐厅了。我们再看到这一句有一个动词 nibble， 小口咬的意思，后面接介系词 on， 再接受词。例如 The rabbit nibbled on the carrot. 这只兔子小口咬着胡萝卜。Nibble 也可以做名词用，表示一小口的意思。例如 While I wasn't watching, the dog took a nibble out of my piece of pizza. 那只狗趁我不注意时，在我的披萨上咬了一口。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, guys. We're talking about something that's called the Proust phenomenon. It's a theory. I don't think it's actually been tested, but I think a lot of us are familiar with this idea of smelling something. It brings back either good memories or bad memories. It can be either, actually. It was named after the French writer Marcel Proust. He wrote about how the smell of, it's a kind of a small little cake-like dessert. It's called a madeleine. It was dipped in tea and help him recall or remember a detailed memory of his aunt's house. She probably served those when they were having tea together. Here you can find madeleines for sale in Taiwan. I think they're quite tasty. They're not too sweet, guys. I think you would like them. They're very small. They're not cheap, though, either. But you don't have to dip them in your tea, but you certainly can. You might want to dip them in your coffee or maybe a glass of milk.
Aren't they kind of shapes like shells or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess I've seen those before, but I'm not sure if I've ever eaten one, much less eaten one dipped in tea.
Yeah.
But that's what happened here. Marcel went over to his aunt's house, and I guess he ate one of these cakes that had been dipped in tea. You just kind of stick it in the tea so that it soaks up the tea, and then you eat it. And, of course, that, at least when he ate that, it reminded him of his aunt's house. Now, experts believe that the role of smell in eliciting long-forgotten memories is related to how close the part of the brain where odors are processed is to the regions controlling emotion and memory. Oh, that's a long sentence. We're going to have to break that down for you. So we're talking about experts, people who study this. So they believe that the role of smell in eliciting long-forgotten memories is related to how close that part of the brain is to another part of the brain that controls emotions and memory, basically. So again, we've got the word eliciting here. That's from the verb to elicit, which means basically to call something, to draw it out, to summon that thing, to bring it out, basically. So the smell kind of elicits or reminds us of those long-forgotten memories. And it has something to do or is related to the location of the part of the brain where odors are processed. And that location is close to the regions of the brain that control emotion and memory. Basically, that's because the part of the brain that controls smells is right next to the part of the brain that controls emotions and your memory.
Very interesting. See, I didn't know that our brain that controls our emotions and memory are very close to where those smells are kind of processed. Now, to be processed, guys, just means it goes through a series of steps. Maybe if you're making something in a factory, you might have a certain process that you used to produce that product. Or you could say, yeah, our factory makes those. They're processed daily. They are. Again, you have to use the be verb if you're not talking about a person in particular doing it. It's more indirect or it's being acted upon. So it's processed right there in your brain where your emotions and memories are also held. Makes sense. That's why our sense of smell brings back those memories. And it's often more successful or stronger, I would say, than our other sensory systems. Our other senses include touch, vision, what's that? Hearing. I'm trying to think of all our senses. We have 5. Our taste, yeah. All of those things are pretty important. But yeah, smell just always brings back those memories from long ago. I quite like that particular phenomenon, you could say.
So I guess some of those neurons in the odor section of your brain kind of spill over into the memory section and the emotion section, and that's why you have that psychological reaction to certain smells. Okay, and those are sensory systems which have to do with the senses. Now, here in the last paragraph it says, researchers are still looking at the relationship between smell and memory, but initial findings suggest that smells can evoke extremely vivid memories. So yeah, they're still doing research. They bring people in, they make them smell certain things and maybe write about experiences they had in the past. So they're trying to establish a relationship between smell and memory. But the initial findings, or at least the findings, the results that they have come across at the beginning, that's what initial means, at the beginning. These findings or these results suggest that smells can evoke or elicit extremely vivid, very clear memories.
Yes. Do you see that vocabulary word elicit that we talked about earlier? It's not a vocabulary word. Evoke is, but they're very similar. Their definitions are similar, and you can just exchange those. So evoke just means to bring or recall something to your mind, especially to your conscious mind. So yeah, initial findings or the first findings, I could say, yeah, my initial impression of Taiwan was very positive. I thought the people were so nice. And you know what? That impression has not changed. I still think the people here are very nice, very kind. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. They are studying it, guys. And it looks like there is some sort of relationship between the smells, being able to actually bring back those really clear, vivid memories.
Right, and you might be thinking, well, what does this have to do with me? This is great, this is interesting, but how can I use this?
Yeah.
How can I use it to my benefit? Well, this means that you might be able to use odors as a learning aid.
Cool.
Okay, you can use those smells to help you study, to help you memorize vocabulary, or to help you memorize mathematical formulas or whatever. So the next time you study for an exam, try dabbing your wrist with a scent. Okay, you might be able to buy those essential oils in various shops that have different smells. You might want to pick out some kind of smell that you've never smelled before. So it's kind of new and unique to that situation. So yes, when you go to the library and when you cram for an exam, dab your wrist with that scent. Kind of touch your finger into that essential oil and then touch your finger on your wrist. Okay, dab your wrist with a scent. Here, dab just means to lightly touch something, especially if you're applying some kind of oil.
Yeah, sometimes you'll see women especially who will dab some perfume onto their wrist. It makes that scent stronger because it's a little warmer there where your pulse is. So smelling that same scent on the day of your exam that you studied with will actually bring you back to the time you were learning the information. So hopefully what comes back are the memories of looking at the page, looking at your notes. You can see it in your mind. I think this is a great idea. And if I were still in school, I would definitely test this. You'll have to let us know, guys, if it works. Do it a couple of times so you have more evidence, Researchers just don't do one test. They usually do several tests and then write down what their findings are. Hopefully, this helps you guys out there do much better on your tests. We're all hoping it works at least.
We certainly do hope that. So indeed, what we want you to accomplish is being successful in your studies and then being hired by a pretty hotshot company, and then you can make a really high salary and make a ton of money. That's what we want you to do. to. And then, when you are successful, you can think back, hey, I'm successful because of those English lessons I listened to many years ago and because I dabbed my wrist with those special smells and helped me pass those exams.
Right. Right now, we're going to listen to our Chinese teacher.
我们接着看到第二段的倒数两句，这两句都有使用了疑问词所引导的名词子句。例如倒数第二句中 is related to how close the part of the brain 这一句，还有最后一句的 why our sense of smell is blah blah blah。当疑问词 how、why、what、who、when 等置于句中引导名词子句时，主词要放在 be 动词或助动词的前面，或是疑问词当主词，后面直接接动词。例如 I want to know when you will leave for the airport 而不是 I want to know when will you leave for the airport 我想知道你何时会前往机场。 Judy looks upset. Do you know what happened to her? 朱蒂看起来沮丧，你知道她发生什么事吗？在这句中，疑问词 what 当主词，后面直接接动词 happened。 要注意的是，如果用 how 表示多么来引导名词子句时，后面会先接形容词或副词，再接主词和动词。例如 Casey just doesn't know how lucky she is to have a loving family. 凯西就是不知道她有一个爱她的家庭是多么的幸运。我们最后看到全文的倒数第二句 The next time you study for an exam, try dabbing your wrist with a scent. 下次你在准备考试时，试着在你的手腕轻轻涂上一点香水。表示下次或上次怎么样的时候，可以用 the next time 或 the last time 接一完整句子，逗号再接一完整句子的可以省略。例如 Last time I saw Tom, he was just a kid. Now he is a teenager. 上次我看到汤姆时，他只是个小孩，现在他是个青少年了。以上就是今天的课程，谢谢收听。
That's it, guys. Thanks for joining us, and we hope you'll come back soon. For English Digest, I'm Stephanie.
I'm Tom. Goodbye.
See ya.